I'm going to be giving you guys a presentation on ancient Egyptian agriculture. One of the crucial components to human sustainability in ancient Egypt was irrigation. They used this primary tool known as a shaduf to transport water from a river or stream to fields that are normally inaccessible by water. Now, this was done with a bucket or some sort of large water collection device attached to a pole, uh, counterweighted by a set of rocks or something else that was heavy. Sometimes 2 to 3 people would get on the other end of that pole and make it easier to transport large amounts of water this way. And they would often dump this water into a series of canals and basins to allow the water to travel to more arid and dry parts of their fields. And in ancient Egypt, there was this region known as the Fayum region that was full of rich and fertile soil. This region was formed naturally by what we call the inundation of the Nile or the flooding of the Nile that happened annually. And once this water receded and the flooding was over, the soil was left, full of nutrients, and it was really easy for farmers to grow right after that flooding had, you know, receded itself. And in this area, there were also many forms of wildlife, as well as humans. They started to come along many centuries after it was formed. The ancient Egyptians faced three distinct seasons based on the movement of the Nile, or the flooding and receding of the flood of the Nile. The first season, known as the season of inundation, took place from around June until September and was generally a period of fishing because the Nile was flooded. There wasn't a whole lot of farming you could do. It would often um, carry away and destroy things left that too close to the edge of the Nile River, which generally made it a good idea to go fishing. The growing season, also known as the Parator season, lasted in what we know as winter, and this season was ideal for planting seeds and growing crops because as the Nile receded, the soil was left rich and fertile, and that made it really easy for these ancient Egyptian farmers to get their crops growing. The season of harvest, also known as Shimu, took place during what we call spring, and the crops were harvested quickly before the Nile began to rise again. It was very important for these farmers to collect their crops and really gather everything together with the help of livestock and other resources. Because if the Nile started to flood again and got too close to their crops, they would be ruined, and they wouldn't be able to sell those crops to make money in order to sustain themselves. So it was very important for the season of harvest for the farmers to collect their crops. Now, the ancient Egyptians used what we define as ruminant livestock. These specific type of animals have a four-chambered stomach and a two-toed feet, often hooves. These animals were used to not only help ancient Egyptians, provide them with food and milk, but they were also used to plow fields and oftentimes trample seeds into the ground. So, not only was it a food source, but it was also a resource for farming and help them collect their crops. And cows were particularly important to the ancient Egyptians as many of their gods and goddesses were portrayed as sacred cattle. Thank you for watching.